In this video, we are going to debunk 3 myths about healing that I wish I knew, that we wish we knew, that are super popular in the world, and how they tell you how to heal and what you need to do to heal properly. The first myth that we want to talk about is time heals all wounds. Raise hands if you ever heard that before. I mean, and I think people say it just out of a like wanting to give you comfort and hey, you know, like with time you will heal. But healing's not going to come without being intentional about healing, because if time healed all wounds, then we would see a lot more healthy people in relationships. We would see less divorce rates. And it's because that it is a myth. Time does not heal all wounds. You can be wounded from your childhood. We see people that maybe have gone through massive rejection, felt rejection by their parents, or abandonment wounds, or were bullied really badly in their adolescence. And that is trauma that they haven't let go of, they haven't surrendered, and they haven't processed. And it's showing up in their current relationships. It's showing up in their relationship with God, and their relationship with themselves and how they talk to themselves. And so that is one of the biggest myths I think that gets floated around in our society is, just with time you will heal, because it's giving this kind of like, I don't know, this conception that healing will just happen. And it doesn't just happen. Like for me, both of us, like we have to be intentional and like about, because for example, one of my biggest triggers was anytime that I'm not feeling heard. Anytime that I'm not feeling heard, and it's because like I went through, like, words were so hurtful by my mom. And I just didn't feel like I was ever heard, or I couldn't speak up and to share. And so that's a trigger for me. I just feel like, oh my gosh, well, you don't care, you don't love me if I don't feel like you're listening to me.
Yeah.
And if I didn't really like process those things and even bring it back to like, okay, why am I triggered in this? And bring it back to that, then it would I would have a completely different marriage. It would be a lot of arguments, a lot of fights, a lot of blow ups, a lot of misunderstandings that would just get brushed under the rug. But in making that decision, like, I'm going to choose the healed response, like the healing response of what I know, like, this isn't true. Like, he's not rejecting me. He doesn't not love me because I'm not feeling heard. And it just opens up, it opens up for more healthy communication, and for you to walk the path of what a healing person, like, their actions look like.
Well, and it kind of goes back to that hurt people.
Yeah.
That when we don't make healing intentional, we just bleed over everybody that we encounter.
Yes.
And so if we're just allowing for time to heal things, like I think about a death, right? I think about like my grandmother passing in March. Certainly time has helped, but time hasn't healed, right? There's a difference in helping and healing, right? Help is Band-Aids. Help is temporary, momentary. It's something that just happens or that just kind of takes the load off a little bit in that moment, versus really processing my grief. And that looks different for everyone. Grief looks different for everyone. Healing looks different for everyone, but both of them only happen properly if you do them intentionally.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't, like you said, it's not something that just miraculously, because it's been 3 months, you're better.
Yeah.
Like, no.
This is why you see a lot of addicted people, or you go to certain things to suppress, to ignore your emotions. So,
or you see people in therapy for 30 plus years, or they've been with their therapist for a very, very, very long time. And it's just like, okay.
yeah.
What is the end goal here? You know, what is and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, if you have a healthy relationship where you just use this person or allow this person to help you process things, maybe that's a different conversation. But if you're going for your anxiety, or if you're going for your depression, or for your inner, heal your inner child, time does not do that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen that way. Another one is that we have to heal on our own. It's something that comes up a lot. I see it a lot. Or like, I'm in my healing era, and it's like a video of like being secluded and alone and just focus on self 24/7. And I relate that to my life because I came out of an abusive marriage, and about a year after that, I was like, I can't live here anymore. I can't be here anymore. Like, I have to do something drastic. And I sold all my stuff. I packed up my kids, and we moved to Florida. And I tell people all the time, like, I have told people a lot, like, that was my time of healing. And like, I even had like this tattoo picked out that like I wanted to get that just like symbolized that journey. And like, I just felt like, oh, I've gone down there and I've healed by the ocean.
Yeah.
And like all this stuff because I was by myself. Like, I'm a very extroverted person. I love people, but during this time, it just didn't happen. Where we lived versus where I worked, there was like a 45-minute commute. The girls were kind of all spread out. So it was just, it did really truly end up being a time where it was just me a lot of the time. And it did become like a season of seclusion. And I realized, looking back on it, that two things happened. This is another way that we know, or another way that the Lord has shown me that he does not waste anything. I set out to heal on my own. I set out to do it my way. I set out to build a life for myself, to show myself, to prove to myself and to my family and to those around me that I could make it, that I didn't need this unhealthy, abusive situation to stay alive, that my kids would be good, like that I had to prove to the world that I made the right decision. And I did it all in my own strength, in my own planning. But what God did was he did separate me. He didn't isolate me, but he separated me. And he didn't allow for me to get down there and plant roots. He didn't allow for me to get down there and I did make some meaningful relationships, but they've transcended over the distance now that I've moved back to Alabama. And he didn't allow this massive decision that I made to derail me, right? He didn't waste it by any means. I did learn a lot about myself then, but I did not heal. I created more wounds that I would need to heal from. Right. So setting out to do it by myself, the Bible never tells us to do that. There's so many examples throughout the Bible that remind us that community is important.
Yes.
That we have to have those other people pouring into us and speaking life over us and interceding for us. No one's interceding if we're not talking to them.
Yes.
Like, there's literally no one fighting, in the heavenly realm on our behalf if we're not talking to them.
Yeah.
Right. God's not a pushy God. Right? He's going to always give us his mercy, but he's not just going to bombard in. That's what the enemy does. Right? So I think this myth of like, you have to separate yourself and oftentimes it allows people to delay their healing, right?
Yes.
Because maybe they're in a busy season of life and they think, I did that. Like, I literally put freedom at our church off for like 9 years because I kept being like, well, I'm just not ready.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just not, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? But it was because I literally thought I had to be in a season where I didn't have literally anything else going on. And that is what ended up happening, but it didn't have to be that way. Right. And it's like so many other things in our life where it's like, we make it so much harder than it has to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
good. Because what I think about is in Acts, like what the early church did. They gathered together every single day. They were in unity. They were in unison. And this is, I can totally relate in the times where, because it's kind of like, it's a prideful thing to say, oh yeah, like I'm just gonna heal my own, nobody else will get it. I can't say it to anybody else, because in asking yourself, is it like you're putting up a certain image, or like you're just, in a prideful state of like, you just don't want anybody else in, or maybe you're just feeling like nobody else would understand you, but you're not giving people a chance. And that's a lie from the enemy that makes you want to just isolate yourself, think that you're completely alone, romanticize it, when exactly what you said, it delays your healing. I think the third myth, that's a big one, is people think that healing is a destination, and they think, oh, well, like whenever I have all of this checked off, or whenever I do all of this, then I will be healed. Or whenever, your goal is like to be a healed version of yourself. And I mean, if we just look at scripture, and we are waiting eagerly. Scripture tells us to wait eagerly for the return of Christ, and that this is not our home. We are aliens to this world, and there is, like, through the fall of man, Satan is a ruler here. He has authority in this realm, and God's going to come and make all things new. Why would he have to do that if there wasn't going to be any sorrow or suffering? And I would be silly to say, like, God has been blessed me so much. Like, I praise God that I haven't, like, gone through like a massive death in my family or things like that yet. And I know, like, things will happen, it will come to be, but it's just the life that we live here. Like, suffering is part of it, not to glorify suffering, but we're going to walk through hard things.
Yeah. Well, and you're setting yourself up for failure if you think like, I'm going to get to the end goal of being healed. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with feeling that way, but the problem in my mind is kind of like if you're in the ocean and you're surprised by every wave that takes you under.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, okay, maybe if I brace myself for this water, for this like massive wave that's coming, you just handle it a little bit better. It doesn't mean that it didn't hit you. It doesn't mean that you didn't go under. It just means that maybe you took a deeper breath beforehand. You planted your feet better, or whatever the case may be. Because the more we heal, the more we go through, because time never stops.
Yeah.
So like, as soon as we heal from one thing, and you've probably asked yourself, I know I've been here where I'm like, can I get a breath? Like, whoa. And you will, you will get to a season. There's ebbs and flows in our walk, but I think going through healing with this mindset of like an end destination is harmful, because we're going to be surprised by every trial that comes.
Yeah.
You know, or ranking even our trials. I used to do that all the time, where I'd been like, okay, I'd been raped, but then I had an abusive husband, and it's like, dang, which one's worse? Like, it's just a blimp in the story. It's just a chapter.
Yeah.
Right. Not to minimize it by any means, but when you're healed from it, you are able to look at it in that light.
Yes.
You are able to look at it in like, okay, that was terrible. That's what happened. And now I can really talk about it. I can think about it. I can analyze what I could have done differently. You just see it differently, and you'll know when you're healed, because you're able to do that. Right? You're able to remove a lot of the emotion, maybe not all of it, but you're able to remove a lot of the emotion from it and say, okay, this is something that I walked through and the Lord healed me. But it doesn't mean that you won't walk through it again, or walk through something similar, or walk through something totally different.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up, because there is like a difference whenever I talk about like my past abortion. There's no like emotion in it. Like it is just something that it's a chapter.
Yeah.
It's something that you walk through, and the Lord brings good out of everything. He can, whenever you're walking with him and submitted to him. But yeah, it's like from that, I can say like healed from it. But yeah, you put that perfectly. That was so good. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because there's things that you can like be healed from, but knowing that there's going to be the next thing that you walk through and you get to, in terms of bracing yourself. I love that analogy of, I think that helps people too. I know one frustration that I had is whenever I would slip up and I would like react based off a trigger, and I'd be like, bruh, why? I know better. Like, I know better. Why did I give into this pettiness or my flesh here? Like, I knew the result of it, but I did it anyway. Or why is this reacting me so bad? Or even one big one was, I don't talk to my mom too often, but we're really close. But there was a time where she had called before and she was under the influence, and those were the only times where she would like be really mean. And we were really good, and we've had so many amazing conversations that were healing. But that moment in interaction where she's just in that moment, she said so many hurtful words, and it just brought all of that up to surface. And so that could make you, if you think healing's a destination, you could make that feel like, oh, well, defeated in it. But know that we're in this world with broken people, and we are going to experience broken seasons. And it's just being able to cling to the Lord and saying like, being part of this walk is receiving healing in different times of your life with the Lord. And that's like honestly one of the beauties of it. Like you're becoming, I think of like a flower. If you've ever seen that image of a flower coming out of like concrete, it's just consistently like blooming no matter like what, environments and things that you've been put through. So good. Well, we did create a resource, an ebook. We wrote an ebook for you, and this is, it says it's a seven steps to healing, but we've added some bonuses in there. So I think it comes like 9 steps to healing, and what we have personally walked through and what we found, honestly, like what really works. So definitely download that just for you to use. It's free. You can get it at the description below, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it, how it helped, what step was your favorite, what you implement. So just email us at hello@healherministries.com. If you have any prayer requests of a certain season that you're going through and you want just somebody to come into agreement with you and be your community, just feel free to shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you too.